Season 5, Episode 16, Take 1. What is good, everybody? My name is Jake, and welcome back to the One Take series, where we get one chance to reflect on the day. No second chances, no third chances, one take, and one take only, okay? Starting out with the list, okay? Like I've been doing the last couple of episodes, we're going to start with the things I did not get to on the list, and then eventually get to the things that I did get to. No. Not really any updates, but like I said, I've been going hard for research anyways. That doesn't require much attention on this point. And then obviously, working Big Brother. I should definitely rewrite the board to group those two almost together because they really are pretty similar in terms of like when I get to what when. But then in terms of what I did do, well actually, I'll cover a couple of the things, right? So basically, for the rest of them, so this interview for this internship, that is going to be on Tuesday. So that is going to get pushed back just a little bit. But right now I'm leaning probably not towards this one, just because the professor doesn't really seem on top of her stuff. She got back to me a week late, which I mean, fair enough. I don't blame her for that. But what I do kind of blame her for is she sent out a bunch of times for me to pick from, and then afterwards I came up with one of the times, or I just chose one of the times, and she said no, actually, like I might have to push it back. So this is looking like kind of a pass so far. I might be able to just bypass depending on how well these two go, honestly. But I mean, you know, that's like what I said. I mean, we were already feeling set without the extra padding. Like because we already had extra padding here in reality. So we should be good for that. In terms of the things I did do right, academics, like I said, it's just been stressful. It's really been stressful. So far, this hasn't changed much. However, we do need to note a couple of things, okay? So basically for this class, okay, for the unplanned pregnancy, we've got a homework that we have to do, or actually it's a quiz, that's what it is, because we need to do like a lab report for that as well, but also in addition to that, the main thing I want to focus on is a quiz, because that's due by tomorrow midnight. Speaking of tomorrow midnight, we got a lab report which is due tomorrow midnight as well. I did start it today, and I feel like it shouldn't be too crazy bad. But I mean, it is still something that we got to get done and make sure that we're on top of, because like I said last week, I turned in a lab report. It was not my best work, okay? Where it gets a little stressful is studying for quizzes, because we're going to have two quizzes tomorrow. One of them is going to be for the devious 1 p.m., right? That's going to be one of them. And then the other one is going to be for linear algebra, right? That is also going to be a study point. Because I don't know what to expect on a linear quiz, especially. I know like I'm okay at the concepts. I get the concepts that they're covering so far. The problem I have with it is like actually like making sure to like write out the words / performing the right steps, which I don't really know how comfortable I feel on that currently, I'll be honest. Let's see, covering the rest of it. Sorry, my neck is hurting. My neck hurts. I need to maybe back up like this. Dang, I didn't even get a crack. Okay, so going through the rest of it, okay? Let me see. We're doing completely fine in that class. But I definitely do want to stay ahead, because all that I have to do for the rest of this week is just get a homework, besides the lab, of course, which is thankfully one to be done in class. All that I have to do for let me see is basically, what is it? I have to finish a reading. That's pretty much all I have to do until the weekend, where I have to do a homework assignment. So I'm honestly not too concerned about that. We go through the reading. It's like an interactive textbook, so we do that. We answer the questions within it, and then we're set, honestly. And then in terms of the we also have a homework assignment for this one due. Where did the red marker go? Did I put it in my pocket? I did. Let me see. We also have a homework assignment for this. Thankfully, that one's due on Thursday, though, right? So that is definitely going to be much more helpful. So we'll mark these real quick. So that's Thursday, that's Wednesday. Those are both Wednesday. Let me see. Well, actually, one of them is Monday, and then one of them is Wednesday. And then for this one, that's going to be tomorrow. And then lab report 2, that is also going to be Wednesday. So just mapping out what I had to do. I already have my work cut out for me. We got to study for 2 things, and then we have 2 assignments to do. That's really where we're at. And then let me see, like I said, we're chilling in that class. We're chilling. There's a reading that I just have to do by Thursday's class, which again should not really be a problem. Okay, that's where we're currently at. In terms of tests, I believe how they're mapped out, right? I believe that this midterm is next week. We've absolutely got some studying to do out of the few resources that we even have to study. But I mean, we go back in the notes, we look at it. I'll try and prime before classes time because thankfully the notes should actually be up. And we'll go from there. It's crazy because what ends up happening for the 1 p.m. too, which I just realized, was I ended up getting a 10 out of 10 on the homework quiz, by the way. So that was definitely clutch. And then one of my quizzes, the first quiz that I retook, I did get 1 extra point. So I feel like that could definitely make an impact later on. But it's crazy because the ones that are homeworks, they weigh less on the grade than the quizzes, which just doesn't make any sense at all. But whatever. So basically going about the rest of it, yeah. We do what we have to get done by tomorrow, and then afterwards, because tomorrow is really about survival. Tomorrow is all about the back-to-back action and just making sure we stay afloat. We will attend office hours for the cool unk if we have time. If not, I'm just gonna bolt out that lab report and bolt out what I have to get done in order to actually survive for tomorrow. So that's it in terms of classes. In terms of the rest of the stuff, let me see. This is one of the few last times that I'm gonna be bringing attention to the streak. Okay, just for reference, yes, it did go up to 18, and therefore it did officially dethrone my second best attempt, right? And I am very proud of that. The only thing is that I want to make sure that it's not the only thing I'm talking about. So I will check back on day 21 to tell you an update on this, because by day 21 will be when I've tied this, and then I'll check in the day after as well to tell you guys if I've beaten and officially beaten this streak, which means it would be the best streak that I've had in 8 years, right? Definitely, like I said, it is a big deal. However, I don't want to make the mistake that everybody keeps making, right? A lot of people, when they're trying to beat that specific addiction, what they end up doing is that they count and they focus too much on the streak, right? They focus way too much. As a result of focusing way too much on the streak, it is the only thing on their mind, right? The reason why I am keeping a track right now is to see how far we've come compared to our other streaks. Once we've topped 23, obviously, because of one take, it's going to make it extremely easy to keep count, because basically the way that I memorize it is literally just whatever number I'm on and you add 2 days. That's literally it. So 16, you add 2, we're on day 18, right? It will be extremely easy to keep track of the one take. However, I'm not going to try and focus on it all the time, because if I focus too much on the streak, that means I'm focusing too much on the addiction, and therefore I'm more likely to get urges, which we don't want, right? So, needless to say, I'm very proud that this is my second best so far. I will update you in the future to see if it is the best streak I've had. I think it will end up being, and I think it will be the one where we finally break free from it. But needless to say, I want to stop talking about it so that way we don't instigate anything, okay? So, let me see. Yeah, the rest of it. One take long form. Obviously I've been uploading that. I've been pretty consistent. Definitely want to get on the short form for sure this weekend. If anything this weekend, I want to do 3 main things. I have 3 main accomplishments. Okay, start getting the short form one takes done. Start making up time from work, the lost time. And if I'm not able to make up all of this, by the way, we'll just make it up at a later date, because obviously right now, including today, I wasn't able to get to work today. Therefore, it is now up to 8 hours. And obviously tomorrow I'm probably not going to have time as well. But we will fit time in there to make sure that we are getting paid, because naturally, like I said, we do have to pay rent, right? So The rest of it, yeah, sleep. I ended up getting 7 hours. I mean, 7 hours. I'm able to function off of it, right? It's like it's a thing where I would prefer to get more, at least usually like 7 minute or 7 hour 30, because that's a full REM cycle, right? But if I have to get less, I have to get less. I mean, like it's not really too much of a problem for me, right? I will probably it is around like maybe like 10:50 ish right now as I'm recording this. So I will try and like maybe aim for like 6:30 ish maybe to wake up. And I will say there was this one guy who he is watching the 1/6. He's a little bit behind. But basically he saw the sleep schedule that I originally had in mind, 9:30 to 6:30. And it's kind of funny. I think it's gonna probably make a little more sense once he does catch up, because his current sleep schedule is that, right? And so I think eventually I will probably build myself to get to that sleep schedule, but right now we just need to focus on like getting done what we need to get done, because that is really just the effect of college, and the effect of engineering is just things will take as long as however they need to take. They really will, right? So honestly, right now, as long as we get at least 7 hours, I'm fine with that personally. But if we can expand this to 9 hours by progressive overload through sleep, I would be glad to do that. Okay. You're gonna notice that I deleted the plan over here. Let me see. The reason why is actually for the gym. I think I am going to keep it. Just because I think that's still a good motivator. Which, by the way, gym, like I said, we were not able to get to today. But the reason why I deleted it for Jesus as well was because the same guy I was talking about with the one take, he recommended something where, let me see, and it was 15 through 21. He recommended what I do was, instead of trying to do so in depth, I go a little more on the surface, right? Because the thing is that whenever I want to spend time in the Bible and with Jesus, what ends up happening is that I want my full attention to be on the Bible when I'm reading the Bible, right? I use something called the STAB method, which is summary, thoughts, applications, and best verse, right? And it is a really good way of like truly grasping what you're getting out of the Bible. However, he mentioned that I might as well at this point just try, because he said it only takes him 15 minutes a day, just reading one chapter and just only reading it, not really doing anything else, right? And so I think it is maybe something that I could do, specifically just because in his words, and he worded this really well, was basically he would rather that I get exposure to it, or just some exposure whatsoever, than try to go all out for it and then not get any exposure in the end, right? So I think honestly it's a good piece of advice, and I think it's one I should start taking. So if he said it takes 15 minutes, it'll probably maybe take around 15 minutes. I wouldn't doubt that. So we'll try it out. And like he said, I mean, any exposure is better than no exposure when you're overthinking it, right? I feel like that's definitely a common theme of just like my thought process, is because the reason why I'm a procrastinator is due to the fact that I overthink things and want things to be so perfect, when in reality, just doing things and getting things done on just like, even if it's in a sloppy manner, at least there's a finished product, or just a product in general, than nothing at all, right? So I think that is really important. Okay, let's see. Over here, I'm trying to think. There isn't really much to add in terms of these sections over here. I mean, what you see was what you get, and basically what I was talking about yesterday still applies. My confidence with women is still pretty high. Money, like I said, not applicable. We haven't been working. Control over urges, like I said, I'm proud. And then basically when it comes to connections, I guess there's like, I'm still trying to like keep a few people, right? I'm not trying to cut all ties, because like I said, if you burn every single bridge that you have, you're going to end up on an island. And where are you going to go on an island, right? So I'm not trying to burn all of them, but I'm just trying to burn the ones that like, they're just dead weight, right? The ones that I don't necessarily need, right? So other than that, the reason why the title is here, okay, so we'll transition this into the what did we learn section of today. Well, the first thing is that trying is cool, right? There's this thing where my roommate, we had to since like I said, we're kind of like in a situation where we're kind of like sharing like a car, right? Pretty much they asked is basically like a game of telephone. It was a game of telephone when it came to giving rides, right? There was basically, so it's me, imagine me, my roommate's best friend, and then like just an acquaintance of my roommate's best friend, right? That's basically the game of telephone. They're all those three. They're in a club that I left in the past just because I felt like it was getting cliquey, and my roommate is experiencing the same thing. But basically, it was a game of telephone where originally my roommate's best friend wanted to take a ride, and pretty much every time that we are driving, by the way, I am the one driving. I am the one behind the wheel. It's very rare occasion. I honestly, there might not have been a time where both of us were in the car and my roommate was the one driving. Driving is pretty much driving is pretty much my responsibility, which honestly I don't mind. I like driving personally. But basically, originally, the best friend of my roommate wanted to drive, right? And so I didn't really mind that. Obviously it's like, that's like their like dog, that's their dog. So naturally, I mean, I gotta help bestie out, right? And so then afterwards, but the thing is that it ended up being the acquaintance wanted the best friend. It was basically the acquaintance wanted in on it, right? And so it was basically a game of telephone where the acquaintance wanted my roommate's best friend to get a ride from us. The acquaintance wanted a ride from the roommate's best friend, okay? And the best friend wanted a ride from my roommate, and then because I'm the one driving, my roommate wanted to drive from me. So it's basically like this game of telephone, right? And thankfully it was, there was a point where they wanted us to make a drive that was like out of the way in terms of where our apartment was. But thankfully the best friend kind of was like stepping in and saying like that's a weird thing to say or whatever, and basically that they'll drive the acquaintance home like after they get to their car, right? And so I drove them over, right? Let me see. I drove them over to like where they were parked and stuff. And basically the reason why, because this is the thing, right? Like I said, it was a cliquey club. The thing is that it's one of those people, not the best friend. The best friend is chill. I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if, I don't know. I met my roommate's best friend like maybe like about like a couple weeks ago. I think they're a really cool person. I don't know if that feeling is mutual or whatever. It doesn't really feel like it. I don't know if I'm just kind of overthinking it, but like I said, it's not really like something that I need to overthink right now, right? Like that shouldn't be on my mind. But like the other one is like the acquaintance of the best friend, right? And this is why I say trying is cool, right? Because that person was just, it's one of those people that just don't have a personality whatsoever, okay? Me personally, I would rather you be very dislikable. I would rather you have a dislikable personality than you have no personality at all. Because at least if you have a dislikable personality, you're trying. You're actually putting effort into the world. Whereas if you're not doing anything, it's like, what are you even doing here? Like, what is your purpose, right? And so it really is a thing where the first lesson is you should try to be cool, because trying is cool, right? By trying to be cool, I mean you actually put in the effort, you put in the time to do things. Because a lot of people think that being nonchalant and just going everywhere like you don't give a fuck about anything is just cool, right? Not giving a fuck some of the time can be really cool, right? About certain things. But if you approach your entire life with only that mindset, it's not going to work, right? Too much of anything is a bad thing, regardless of how good it is. Because if you don't give a fuck about anything, then what happens when you come across things that you are forced to give a fuck about? That's really that. Okay, sorry for all the F-bombs. But that is number one, right? Because it's an important thing. Number two is going to be, like I said yesterday, have those things that take your mind off of the stress. That shooting that music video today for the club was absolutely what I needed, and it did remind me that my main goal and my dream job is to be a musician. That really is. If I had to pick one out of engineer, musician, or content creator, I would absolutely be a musician any day of the week. It really just is a thing. Like I said, no matter what happens, okay, we finish the education. That is the most important thing, because we're not going to college for nothing. I ain't paying tens of thousands of dollars, probably $100,000. I ain't gonna have to pay off loans after I get out of college just so I can freaking drop everything that I'm doing to pursue music and be broke, right? That's not the goal, okay? The goal with this is that we finish the degree, and then afterwards we can start prioritizing music a little more, okay? We're still gonna have a job, and we're still gonna do all this stuff like on the side and launch music as like a side thing. However, my main goal in the future, I genuinely do envision myself as a musician, performing those sold out shows, making those quality studio albums that people make household names of. I really plan on like my future album, let's say like Light Work, for example. I genuinely envision people bumping that in the car. I envision them pulling them up on their Spotify and just pressing play, listening to the whole album through. That is my vision. I can see that very clearly with music, and that is why I want to prioritize music in the future, which is why I'm having this outlet. Like I said, right now, the main focus is engineering, and for a long time, the main focus will be engineering. But there will eventually come a point where I have to put my eggs in that basket, and I will be ready to do so, okay? For now, have those minds that take your mind off all this, okay? Number 3 is going to be, you can only do so much in one day. That's going to be number 3, right? You can apply this to most of the board. However, the main thing that I am talking about is definitely going to be academics, because I worked on academics besides the music video, academics the entire day. The fact that I have all this left in terms of academics after everything and all the work that I put in today really just goes to show that you can try your best to do everything you can within the amount of hours that you're awake. It's not going to be enough hours. It never will. That's why it takes multiple days. You just got to trust the process. You got to keep applying yourself, and you got to keep freaking going. And just like when you wake up tomorrow, you know you already have your work cut out for you. So go get it done. That's all I have to say today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Cut.